The beginning of Parshat Vayeshev. So we're on page 3. I'm going to read the Hebrew and translate into the English like we usually do. You can follow whether in the Hebrew or in the English. Vayehi ka'asher ba Yosef el Echav, and it was when Yosef came to his brothers. Vayafshitu et Yosef, the brothers undressed Yosef. Et kotnato, they undressed his garment. Et kotonet hapasim asher alav, the woolen coat that he was wearing, the special coat that his father gave him. Vayeshvu le'echol lechem, the brothers then sat to eat bread. Vayis'u einehem, they lifted up their eyes. Vayir'u vehine urchat Ishmaelim ba megilad, and they saw there's a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from the Gilad. Vegmalehem nos'im nechot v'tzri valot, and their camels are carrying all kinds of spices. Holchim lorid Mitzrayma, they were going to take all the spices down to Egypt. Vayomer Yehuda el Echav, Yehuda said to his brothers, Ma betza ki naharog et achinu v'chisinu et domo. He knew Shimon and Levi. Shimon and Levi are the guys that don't take nonsense. Somebody is against them, they kill him. So he's trying to calm them down. He says, look, what are we going to gain by killing him? Lechu v'nimkernu la'ishmaelim. Let's go and sell it to the Ishmaelites. Ve'yadenu al tihibo, and we should not send our hands in him. Ki achinu besarenu hu, because he's our flesh. Vayishmeu Echav, and the brothers agreed. V'Yosef urad Mitzrayma, then Yosef goes down to Egypt. Vayikneheu Potipar Sris Paro Sachat Abachim, and the butcher in Egypt buys him as a slave. Ish Mitzri miyad ha'Ishmaelim asher yurdu shama. He bought it from the Ishmaelites that took him there. Okay, we are in the bottom paragraph on page 3. Vayosef hurad Mitzrayma. Yosef was brought down to Egypt. Vayiknehu Potipar Saris Paro Sar Tabachim. He bought him. Ish Mitzri miyad ha'Ishmaelim asher yurdu shama. He bought it from the Ishmaelites that took him there. And then it says something interesting. What does it say? Vayehi Hashem et Yosef. And God was with Yosef. Vayehi ish metzliach. And therefore, because God was with him, therefore he was successful. Vayehi bebeit Adonav HaMitzri. And where was his success? At the butcher's place. The butcher bought him, and at the butcher, that was he became very wealthy because of Yosef. And then it says, Vayar Adonav ki Hashem ito. And his master, the butcher, saw that God is with him. V'chol asher hu oseh, Hashem matzliach beyado. In everything that he does, God is succeeding in his hand. Everything he touches turns to gold. Vayimtza Yosef chen be'enav. Yosef found favor in his eyes. Vayesharet oto, he served him. Vayifkedeu al beito, he put him as a minister on his house. V'chol yesh lo natan biyado, and he gave him control over everything he has. Okay, let's continue on page 4. Ka'asher lomdim et hapasuk, when we learn the verse, Vayehi Hashem et Yosef, that God was with Yosef. Vayehi ish matzliach, and Yosef therefore was a successful man. Harei perush advarim bepashtut. It says, what does it mean in the simple explanation? שהקדוש ברוך הוא היה עם יוסף, that God was together with Yosef. וכתוצאה מזה היה יוסף איש מצליח. And that's why Yosef was successful. When God is with you, then you're successful. אמנם כאשר באים לפסוק של אחריו, this everything is nice until now. But when you come to the next verse, what does it say in the next verse? Vayar Adonav ki Hashem ito. It says his master saw that God was with him. נשאלת שאלה פשוטה, you can ask a simple question. מניין ידע פוטיפר, how did Potiphar know שסיבת הצלחתו של יוסף היא מפני שהשם איתו. How did he know that the reason why Yosef is successful is because God is with him? Maybe it's some idol? No. Potiphar also attributed success to whom? To God. Why? Potiphar serves idols. Everybody else serves idols. Why was he thinking that it was not an idol somewhere in Egypt? Or wasn't Pharaoh? Or wasn't somebody else? Or wasn't nature? Or wasn't just because he's a good guy? So, Potiphar היה שר אצל פרעה מלך מצרים. Potiphar was a minister by Pharaoh. ובוודאי היה עובד עבודה זרה. And for sure, that's what he used to be, an idol worshipper. ככל תושבי ארץ מצרים. Just like all the inhabitants of the land of Egypt. ואם כן, and if this is so, מניין ידע פוטיפר לתלות את הצלחתו של יוסף בכך שהשם איתו? How did Potiphar attribute the success of Yosef to the fact that God is with him? לכאורה היה צריך לתלות זאת ביראתם של מצרים. He should have said, you know who is responsible? The God of Egypt. He's the one. והדרך שמצינו אצל לבן. And how do we see it? By Lavan. When Lavan makes a deal with Yaakov, after Yaakov left, just in last week's Parsha, it says, Elokei Nechor, the God of Nechor, my idol will be with us, as a covenant between me and you. So it says, even Nechor wasn't aware that God was with Yaakov. Yeah? He thought that it's my God. Yeah, my God. Over here, how come Potiphar doesn't say, my God is with you? Why did he say, no, it's Hashem, God is with you? So, Rashi actually answers this question in like 3 words. Let's see Rashi. Ki Hashem ito. Rashi quotes the words Hashem ito because God is with him. And he says simple. So Rashi looks, how did he know? Shem shamayim shagur befiv. The name of heaven was always in his mouth. Whatever Yosef did, he always attributed it to say, with God's help. Whenever something good happened, he says, thank God. Everything had to do, God, 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 God. He was going around all day long, and the name of God was constantly on his lips. ולכן מפרש רש"י, this is why Rashi says, וירא אדוניו כי השם איתו, and his master saw that God is with him. כי שם שמיים שגור בפיו, he always mentioned God, no matter what happened. הבן 5 למקרא למד כבר בפירוש רש"י את הביטוי שם שמיים שגור בפיו. A 5-year-old already knows what it means. The name of heavens is in his mouth. בקשר לדבריו של יעקב ליצחק. When he comes to the words of Yaakov to Yitzchak, what did he says? When Yaakov comes to Yitzchak to steal the firstborn from Esav, Yitzchak asks him, how come you're here so quickly? And what does Yaakov answer? Yes, God helped me on the way. And how would you? And then Yitzchak became suspicious. Why did Yitzchak become suspicious?
Because he used Shem Hashem.
Yes. So maybe Esav would do the same thing.
Usually Esav wouldn't say,
I'm Popeye. I'm the big one. I did it. Esav would usually say it was my power who did it. All of a sudden, whoever he thinks Esav is, he's saying, no, I attribute everything to God, just like Yaakov. כי יקרא השם אלוקיך לפניי. God is made it in front of me. ולכן, page 5, and therefore, כאשר רש"י מפרש בנוגע ליוסף, when Rashi says, when it comes to Yosef, ששם שמיים שקור בפיו, that the name of heaven is always in his mouth, מבין שפירוש הדבר, the 5-year-old understands immediately, שיוסף היה רגיל לומר על כל דבר כי יקרא השם לפניי. Whenever anything good happened, what did Yosef say? It wasn't me. Became rich, why? God. God, God, God. In other words, if Esav was there, Esav would have said all the time, me, 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 me. Yosef was there, he was like Yaakov. Everything is God.
Same as in the dreams, when he tell Paro, the dream, he said, God, להשם החלום, לא לי.
Very good. Everything is attributed to God. ועל פי זה מובן, and according for this we understand, שאין כל פלא מדוע חשב פוטיפר שהצלחתו של יוסף היא מפני שהשם איתו. Now we understand why Potiphar thinks God is involved here. God is here. מכיוון שיוסף היה אומר וחוזר, because that's what Yosef would always say. בכל עת, every time, שהצלחתו בדבר זה, הוא מפני שהשם איתו, that the reason why he's successful in every endeavor he takes, is because God is always with him. Page 6. And then something happens. What happens? ויהי אחר הדברים האלה, after these things, ותישא אשת אדוניו את עיניה אל יוסף, the wife of the butcher lifted her eyes to Yosef, ותאמר שכבה עמי, and she told him, lay with me, וימאן, and he refused, ויאמר אל אשת אדוניו, and he said to the wife of his master, הן אדוני לא ידע איתי מה בבית. It says, my master gave me all the power in the house. He didn't look anything. I've got everything, control over everything. וכל אשר יש לו נתן בידי. Everything that he has, he gave in my hand. ויהי כדברה, but she was insistent. ויהי כדברה אל יוסף יום יום. She continued to talk to Yosef each and every day. ולא שמע אליה לשכב אצלה להיות עמה. He did not listen to her, to lay with her, to be with her. ויהי כהיום הזה, and there was one day, ויבוא הביתה לעשות מלאכתו. He came to the house to do his work. ואין איש מאנשי הבית שם בבית. And there was no one there in the house. ותתפסהו בבגדו לאמור, and she grabbed his garment, and she said, שכבה עמי, lay with me. ויעזוב בגדו בידה וינוס. He left the garment in her hand, and he ran away. ויצא החוצה. He ran to the outside. ויהי כראותה כי עזב בגדו בידה וינוס החוצה. And now he is running around in the streets all naked, and everybody is looking at him like a crazy man, and she's going to say, oh, now my husband is going to come home, I'm going to be in trouble. Yeah? ותקרא לאנשי ביתה, ותאמר להם, so she called all the people in her house, and she told them, ראו הביא לנו איש עברי לצחק בנו. Look, my husband brought a Hebrew man over here to make fun of us. בא אליי לשכב עמי. He came over here and he tried to lay with me. ויקרא בקול גדול, but I was strong and I shouted in a large voice. ויהי כשומעו כי הרימו תקלי. He heard that I lifted up my voice. ויקרא ויעזוב בגדו אצלי. He left the garment with me. וינוס ויצא החוצה. And he went to the outside. This is his payment for being God is with him. Let's continue. ויהי כשמוע אדוניו את דברי אשתו. His master heard the words of his wife, אשר דיברה אליו, that she spoke to him. לאמור, כדברים האלה עשה לי. She told him, like these things he did to me. She waited until they were in bed. And she told him, what you're doing now, he tried to do to me. What you're doing there, he tried to do to me. ויחר אפו, and he became angry. ויקח אדוני יוסף אותו, the master of Yosef took him, ויתנההו אל בית הסוהר. He put him in prison. מקום אשר אסירי המלך אסורים, he put him in a place where the prisoners are. ויהי שם בבית הסוהר, and he was there in jail. So he became very, very successful. Why did he become very successful? Because God was always in his mouth. And then what happens? He's in jail. A second later, he's in jail. Yeah, not yet. In the beginning, he just was in regular prison. אשר אסירי המלך אסורים. You're right. I never noticed it. He was in a high-level jail. Very good. I never noticed it. Thank you. I thought he was in a regular jail. Very good. He wasn't in the low jail. He was in a high jail. Let's look at page 7. ויהי אחר הדברים האלה, after these things, חטאו משקה מלך מצרים, והעורפה לאדוניהם מלך מצרים. Both the butler and the baker sinned to the king. ויקצוף פרעה על שני סריסיו. Paro was mad on his two servants. על שר המשקים ועל שר האופים. On the butler and on the baker. What happened over there? The baker put a fly in the wine, and the butler, the wine guy, put a stone in the bread. That's what to make the king not like them. ויתן אותם במשמר בית שר הטבחים. So he gave them to the house, to the jail. This was the house of the butcher. אל בית הסוהר, to the jail. מקום אשר יוסף עשו שם, to the place that Yosef was jailed. ויפקוד שר הטבחים את יוסף איתם. And the butcher or the jailer, he was both the butcher and the jailer, וישרת אותם. He said, your job, since they are high society, your job is to serve them. You have to be the servant. והיו ימים במשמר, and they were there for a while in the jail. ויחלמו חלום שניהם, איש חלומו בלילה אחד. They both had a dream at one night. איש כפתרון חלומו. Each one dreamed his dream and the solution for the dream. המשקה והאופה אשר למלך מצרים אשר עשויים בית הסוהר. Both the baker and the butler. So they have the dream, and the next morning they're like upset. They don't know how to solve the dream. ויבוא עליהם יוסף בבוקר. Yosef gets up in the morning. וירא אותם, and he saw them. והינם זועפים. And what are they? He says they're sad. They're depressed. וישאל את סריסי פרעה אשר איתו במשמר בית אדוניו. So he asked them, לאמור, מדוע פניכם רעים היום? Why do you have such a sour face today? Why do you look like this today? ויאמרו אליו, so they told to him, חלום חלמנו, פותר אין אותו. We dreamt a dream and we have no solution. ויאמר עליהם יוסף, הלא לאלוקים פתרונים, ספרונה לי. It says, God has the solution, tell me what you're dreaming about. The Rebbe again asks questions about Yosef. Imagine this is you. Paro chalam chalom. Later on, when Paro is going to dream a dream, later on in the story, והוא צריך לפותרים, and he needed somebody to solve this dream. So it says, וישלח ויקרא אל כל חרטומי מצרים ואת כל חכמיה. He went and he sent for all the voodoo guys, all the sorcerers of Egypt. ויספר פרעה להם את חלומו ואין פותר אותם לפרעה. And he told them his dream and no one could solve it. And then what happened? שר המשקים סיפר לפרעה אודות יוסף שפתר את החלומות שחלמו הוא ושר האופים בהיותם בית הסוהר. Until the butler told Paro, hey, there was a young Hebrew boy with us and he knows how to interpret dreams. He was with us in jail. וכפי שפתר, כן היה. And they told him, and you know exactly what he told us going to happen? That's what happened. Me, you returned, and him, you hung. And that's what exactly he told us going to happen. כמסופר בפרטיות בסוף פרשת שבוע. ואז שלח פרעה לקרוא ליוסף. And then פרעה sent to call to יוסף. ובסיפור זה יש דבר תמוה. And now we have a very hard question on the Torah. What's the question? ולא מצינו שרש"י יתעכב על זה. And the hard question is hard. And usually when we have a hard question on the Torah, Rashi immediately explains. He immediately explains. There is not an extra word in the Torah anywhere. Everything in the Torah is exact and it needs to be there. And let's see what's the problem. לשמה מספרת התורה? Why does the Torah take the time? שהיא בתכלית הדיוק, and as we know, the Torah is very accurate. It doesn't have extra words. בכל עניין וכל תיבה. Everything in the Torah, every word in it, every letter in it. את כל אריכות הדברים אודות פרטי החלומות של שר המשקים ושר האופים ופתרונם על ידי יוסף. You know the whole story with the butler and the baker and all the long, all the dreams.
Why we need the dream?
Exactly.
He just said that he solved the dreams.
Very good. There's like more than 20 verses.
Why do I need to know?
Imagine, more than 20 verses. I think there's like 23 verses discussing the dreams. 23 verses discussing a dream. I don't need it. It's got nothing to do with the Jewish nation. It's got nothing to do with nothing. Just tell me, hey, I remember there was a guy who solved my dream. I don't need all the details. Why you give me the details? 23 verses.
There must be a reason.
Oh, if it's there must be a reason. And if there must be a reason, Rashi doesn't even ask. Rashi doesn't ask what the reason is. So we have to figure out what's going on over here. Why would the Torah tell us this whole story? לכאורה, so it looks like, נוגע רק כללות העניין שיוסף פתר להם חלומות. The important part is that he solved the dream. שבגלל זה נתבקש יוסף לפתור את חלומות של פרעה. And that's why he's coming to פרעה. וכתוצאה מזה נתמנה למשנה למלך. And that's how he became king of Egypt. ובעקבות זה תגיע יעקב למצרים. And then Yaakov came to Egypt. שכל זה נוגע כדי שיהיה סיפור מסודר. Now, you have everything. I don't need. If I take the whole story with the dreams out of the Torah, I'm still very happy. I don't need it. And Rashi doesn't discuss it. Nobody discusses it. Why this whole story is there? Now, according to Kabbalah, there's a lot of things. But we're not talking Kabbalah over here. We're talking Pshat. The 5-year-old is going to ask, why is the story there? וכמו כן, נוגע הסיפור שיוסף היה בית האסורים. Also, you want to say that it's important to tell you that Yosef was in jail? Okay, it's important. כדי ללמוד איך צריך יהודי להתנהג אפילו כשנמצא בית האסורים. To tell us how a Jew has to act in jail. So I understand why tell me the story of Yosef in jail. אבל מהו הצורך בסיפור פרטי חלומותיהם של שרי פרעה? But this whole elongated story about these big dreams, about exactly what they dreamed about, with the one saw him taking grapes and squeeze them, the other one saw he's got bread on his head and the crows come and eat them. Well, this whole story. Yeah. ואופן פתרונם, and then the explanation of Yosef, how did he solve them and everything. You don't need the whole thing. It's all bobcats. Okay. Page 9. Another problem we're going to have, המאורה של פתרון החלומות של שר המשקים ושר האופים על ידי יוסף. It says, this whole story of the butler and the baker and the dreams of the butler and the baker and the solution that Yosef gave them to the dreams, אירע בהיותו בבית האסורים. Happened when he was in jail. Now think about the mindset of Yosef. לאחרי שגנוב גונבתי. First of all, how did it all begin? It all began, he didn't do nothing. He was a young boy learning with his father. All of a sudden his brothers jumped on him, sell him for a slave. He doesn't know what's going on. He's crying in the pit. Brothers, what are you doing it to me? Why this? He doesn't even know what's happening. And he's getting sold. Ganov gunavti beta, and he's getting sold into a strange land. He doesn't know the language. He doesn't know nothing over there. He doesn't know who's who. He doesn't know the culture. He becomes a slave over there. Eretz Avim says, and not only that, and also after he was here and was being a good citizen, and he was doing everything he's supposed to do, what's the next stage? Gam po lo asiti meuma. Also over here he didn't do nothing. This woman jumped on him. He didn't even want to do anything with her, and she lied and everything. And then, in other words, they put me in the jail. It has nothing to do. I didn't do anything wrong. Look at that guy's attitude. He should be now. And now you have to think. כיוון שיוסף היה במצב כזה, this was his situation, שגרמו לו עוול הכי גדול בכך שמכרו למצרים. He didn't do anything wrong, and he got sold as a slave. That's the first stage. ובמצרים עצמה, and in Egypt itself, הנה לאחר שמצא חן בעיני פוטיפר, after he works hard and somebody appreciates him, God takes him, woof. The Egyptians take it away from him after 2 seconds. עד שהפקיד אותו בבית ועל כל אשר יש לו. And the butcher trusted him to such a degree, he gave him full control over the house. שמו אותו בבית הסוהר ללא אבן בכפו, and then he was put in jail. He was framed. She framed him. She put him in jail for no reason. הרי מטבע הדברים, you know what his mindset, a normal person's mindset is? Egyptians are evil. I hate them. I hate this whole culture. I hate this whole thing. I did everything for this culture. I did everything from them, right? I did everything for this society, and look what this society did to me. Look at the way these people behave towards me. I hate them. That's normal mindset. היה צריך להיות מאוכזב וממורמר. He should have been bitter on that society. ברוגז על כל העולם. Not only on the society, he should be bitter. He should be bitter on God. He should be bitter on everything. He should be bitter in his entire life, on his brothers, on God, on everybody. He should be bitter. ולחוש שנאה מיוחדת. And you know who should he have hated the most? These two guys. The butler and the baker. That's the most he should have hated them. They symbolize. That's right. They symbolize the culture of the Egyptian.
The butcher.
Yeah, that's what they symbolize. They symbolize the government that put him there. They symbolize everything that he hates. That's the symbolism. שאחד מהם פוטיפר שר הטבחים הכניסו לבית הסוהר. It says, one of you put me over here for no reason. That's what should have been in his mind. But look what happens. ואף על פי כן, and nevertheless, בראותו בבית הסוהר את סריסי פרעה, שר המשקים ושר האופים, when he woke up in the morning and he saw the butler and the baker, שאינם זועפים, they are upset, פנה אליהם ושאל אותם, he looks at them, and he says to them, look at guy's attitude. He doesn't understand. He says, I don't understand how you can be upset at life. That's pretty much what he tells them. Look at me. He says, he was such a guy, no matter in what position you put him, he was happy with life. He was energized with life. He says, God put me here for a reason. You know what I'm here? I don't know why. But I'm here for a reason, and I'm happy I'm being here. And when he saw somebody not being happy with his lot, he says, I'm going to help him be like me. That's what was that. It upset him that there's somebody who's upset. Look at it. And who's the one upset? His biggest enemy, so-called, is upset. And even that upsets him. And he asks them, מדוע פניכם רעים היום? Why are you upset today? We're on page 9, bottom paragraph. לא היה כאן מצב של פיקוח נפשות. You know, a normal person says they're upset. What do you mean what they're upset? The butler and the butcher, yesterday they were high in society, today they're in jail. What do you want them to dance? You want them to dance? What kind of question is that? Of course they're upset. They're in jail. Why shouldn't they be upset? Yeah.
Why you're upset?
Well, of course they should be upset. Of course. What kind of question is this? It says, לא היה כאן מצב של פיקוח נפשות. It wasn't like somebody's going to die and he needed to be nice to them in order not to die or something. בגלל חיסרון של מאכל ומשקה וכיוצא בזה. אלא רק היו מצב רוח לא טוב. If they were missing food, were missing drink, I understand he give it to them. But over here, they had a bad mood. And even that, he couldn't tolerate. If somebody is in a bad mood, he has to make sure that person is not in a bad mood. Page 10.
Joseph never got in a bad mood?
What?
Joseph never got in a bad mood?
That's what you see over here. ומה פלא בכך? It says, what was he so wonder? What bothered Joseph so much? What was his question?
Didn't he see his dad's face? Like,
That was in the case with the woman.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. ומה הפלא בכך ששר שנמצא בבית הסוהר פניו זועפים? It says, what are you wondering on the fact that yesterday you were high minister and today you're in jail? Of course. ומה שפניו זועפים היום יותר מאתמול. And the fact that today you're more upset than yesterday, הרי זה בגלל שמתבונן שעבר יום נוסף והוא עדיין נמצא בבית הסוהר. And it says, well, you know why he's upset? It's one more day and he's still in jail. Of course he should be upset. ובכלל, and it says, and specifically, מה זה עניינו של יוסף? It says, what's this? How is it any of your business? What, you had a job. What's the job? Give them food and water. That was your job. Serve them. Nobody says be the psychiatrist, be the psychologist. That's not your job. הרי אין זה אשמתו שהם נמצאים בבית הסוהר. It's not his fault that they're not in jail. Yeah? He is not the one that put them in jail. It's most of him. ומה גם שהם החברים של השר הרשע שזרק אותו לבית הסוהר. And specifically that they are the friends of the minister that threw him into jail. So why is it? Of course that's the way it's going to be.
Friends of the butcher.
That's right. You should be happy that they're upset.
Go.
ואף על פי כן, and nevertheless, what do we see? היה אכפת ונוגע ליוסף. Yosef cared. You see, it bothered him. Somebody is upset. Somebody that he should be happy that the guy is upset. No, it bothered him. המצב שלהם, ולכן שאל אותם, and that's why he asked them, מדוע פניכם רעים היום? It says, why is your face sad today? בגלל ספק וספק ספקה, אולי יש ביכולתו בהיותו מבית הסוהר לעזור להם. Maybe he could help them. You know, this is nothing to do with this, with this, but it's a message that we can take. Next election, no matter who's going to win, this side, the Republicans or the Democrats, what happens in America? 50% of America are happy, and the other 50 are sad. And usually the 50 that are happy are going to the 50 that are sad, and what do they go? Nah, la kish, you lost. You don't feel a little bit sad for the guy? Whatever, you don't agree with his politics. You don't agree. The guy he's upset right now. Feel the pain. Feel a little bit of his pain. Don't just go, I'm happy that you lost. No, he's in real pain. Whatever, if he's right or he's wrong, it doesn't matter. But whoever he is, he's in pain. Feel his pain. It's a message for us. You see it by Yosef. They were completely against him. They were completely on the other party. The party that put him in jail. And still, when he saw them upset, he says, that's not the way to serve God. A person cannot serve God being upset. And since this is Yutes Kislev today, this is one of the messages of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe says, this is the message of Hasidim, message of Yutes Kislev, that if you want to serve God, you have to be with happiness. You cannot serve God being upset. You cannot serve God being depressed. The only way to really have energy to serve God is to be high on life. And the Tanya is one of the books that teaches you how a person can be high on life. But we're going to go back to the Maimer. Page 11. וההסברה בזה. The explanation in this. יוסף היה מזרעו של אברהם. Yosef was from the seed of Abraham. And what did Abraham say? It says, God told Abraham, do you know why I chose you? There's a reason why I chose you. What's the reason? Because God says, אשר יצווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו לעשות צדקה ומשפט. The reason why I chose you is because I knew you're going to teach you, your son, and all other generation to always have justice. In other words, somebody is upset, there's no reason for him to be upset. Make sure there's justice in the world. אף שלפני מתן תורה לא מחויב בזה, even though that before מתן תורה he wasn't obligated. ולכן בראותו בריאה של הקדוש ברוך הוא. When Yosef saw a creature of God, even though the creature is against him, even though the creature of this God symbolizes the society that is completely against him, במעמד ומצב שאינו בשמחה, he found him in a condition that he's not happy, he's not satisfied with life, תמורת זה שצריך להיות בשמחה, מצד עצם עובדתו היותו בריאה של הקדוש ברוך הוא. It says, you have to be happy. You know why you have to be happy? God created you. You have a mission. And God wanted you down over here in this earth to accomplish something. That's a reason to be happy. Sometimes He wants you to accomplish it in jail. Sometimes He wants you to accomplish it in being the king. But it's your mission to do God's job with energy. If you're depressed, you won't be able to do it. שזוהי תכלית השלמות. This is what a person is supposed to do. הנה כיוון שהוא ראה זאת, since he saw this, הרי זו הוכחה שזה עניין השייך אליו. That was the proof. The fact that it occurred to him that they're upset, it says that means God showed it to me. Why? Because obviously there's something I can do about it. ולכן מיד השתדל לנסות לעזור. That's why he immediately took a step to make sure that they're not going to be upset. כאן רואים איך שבכוחה של פעולה אחת להשפיע על כל העולם. Now we can see how one single act of a person, one single thing, can change the world. The only reason why the entire world was saved from hunger, and that was the entire world at the time. The only reason it was saved from hunger because he cared about these two guys. That was the only reason. Otherwise, everybody in that world, in that area of the world, would have died of hunger. כתוצאה מפעולתו של יוסף לשאול את סריסי פרעה, מדוע פניכם רעים היום? Just because he asked them, why are you guys upset? נתגלגל כל המשך המאורעות שלאחר מכן. That's what all the other matters happened. עד שיוסף פתר את חלומו של פרעה, until יוסף solved the dream of פרעה. ובגלל זה נתמנה למשנה למלך. And this is why he became the king later on. ועוד והוא העיקר, and furthermore and deeper. כי מה שיוסף נתמנה למשנה למלך, the fact that Joseph became king afterwards, הרי זה רק טובה עבורו בלבד. It is only good for him. והרי ידוע פתגם רבנו הזקן שאמר לאחד החסידים שביקש ברכתו בענייני פרנסה. There was, I'll tell you the story. There was one of the Hasidim who was very, very, very rich. A person who was extremely rich. Think about someone like Bill Gates. And he lost everything. Now, you have to understand, losing everything to somebody like Bill Gates, it's like everything. It's not like today. Today, these guys can't lose everything. It's almost impossible, like in the old time. But in the old time, things like this could happen. There was no insurance, there was no this, there was no that. You take merchandise across the sea, the ship went, and that's it. There's no insurance, there's nothing. You lost everything. Yeah, it's not like today, there's insurance, you don't put all your people, in that time he lost everything. He became a nobody. He came to the Rebbe, and he started crying to the Rebbe. And he said to the Rebbe, to the Alter Rebbe, he said to him, look, I'm upset, first of all, I don't have the money, but that's not really why I can't sleep at night. I owe hundreds and thousands of Jews money. They invested with me. They gave me money. Thousands and thousands of rubles. I owe Jews all over the place. I promised yeshivas all over Russia. I promised them thousands of dollars that I'm going to support them. I promised people that I'm going to give them. I don't have the money to give them. I don't have nothing. At least, at least make sure that I can pay everything back. Yeah, that I can pay everything back. You would think that that's a good thing to ask for, a legitimate reasoning, right?
Yeah.
So he asked, bracha b'inyanei parnasa. Kol ze huma. So the Alter Rebbe, what did the Alter Rebbe says? The Alter Rebbe says, all this is what you want. Kol ze huma she'ata tzarich. He says, everything that you ask me is what you want. You want to repay your debts. You want to say, אבל בשביל מה צריכים אותך? But why do they need you? He says, nobody needs you. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He wanted it off his shoulders. That's what is concerned. In other words, Alter Rebbe showed him, you're still only concerned about yourself.
You want to look back.
Yeah, you're still only concerned. No, what do God needs you? What do people need you for? So they're going to get the money from somebody else. Don't worry. It's possible for them to get the money. What do they need you? You're only concerned about yourself. Even to that. So it says that he immediately, by the way, we studied the story. So this Chassid lost consciousness when he heard it. He fainted. They had to drag him out and they had to revive him. And later on, he saw the Rebbe one more, again somewhere else, and the Rebbe gave him a blessing, and he became wealthy again, and he returned all the money. But that's a story. But just imagine, when he was really there, he was in a level. He really felt. They said, how can I live with myself? That's what the Alter Rebbe didn't like. What do you mean, how can? What do they need you? שעל ידי זה הציל את כל העולם מרב. In other words, Yosef didn't just become the king so he can become the king. I'm the king. No. The only reason he became the king is so that God could save the world from hunger. Not just the Jews, the world from hunger. כמסופר בהמשך הפרשה, ויהי רעב בכל הארצות, like it says, there was famine in all the lands, וכל הארץ באו מצרים לשמור את יוסף. And everybody came to what? To buy grain from Yosef. Because he's going to be the one who's to save them. Page 13. וההוראה מזה בנוגע לפועל. So what can we take out of it? From all this story, what can we take out of it? כשתובעים מיהודי, when you ask a Jew, the religious Jew, that's what he likes. He likes God. He likes Gemara. He likes learning. When you ask from a Jew, לסגור את הגמרא, to close the Gemara, ולצאת ולפעול על יהודי נוסף להניח תפילין, to go out into this world and to make sure that another Jew puts on tefillin, or להדליק נר חנוכה, or another Jew is going to light a Hanukkah candle, יכול הוא לטעון, that person can say, בשלמה משהו בעצמו צריך להניח תפילין וכיוצא בזה. It says, I know that I need to put on tefillin, that's one thing. הרי זה מובן. אבל מהי המצווה ללכת ולחפש יהודי ולנסות לפעול עליו? Look, if I am going to go now and put on tefillin this morning, I know for sure it's going to work. I'm going to put on tefillin. If I'm going to learn Torah today, I know for sure it's going to learn Torah. If I'm going to walk in the street and just ask this guy, instead of learning Torah for 5 hours, I'm going to walk in the streets for 5 hours and ask this guy if he wants to put on tefillin, and that guy wants to put tefillin. 99% of them are going to tell me no anyway. There's no guarantee that any goodness is going to come out of it. Yeah, it's a doubt when maybe it's going to happen. ועל זה אומרים לו, and this is what the message is from this week's parsha. שצריך ללמוד מיוסף. One needs to learn from Yosef. שהיה אכפת לו שיש מישהו שפניו זועפות. He saw that somebody is upset, somebody is distressed, somebody doesn't have Torah in any manner, ולכן השתדל לנסות לעזור לו. Now you have to do all that is incumbent upon you to help him. רק מצד רגש טוב, אף שלא היה בגדר של מצווה, even though it might not be a commandment. There's no commandment to make the guy feel better. It's not one of the 1613 commandments. It doesn't matter. There's a Jew is upset, make him feel better. ובוודאי לא עם כל הרעש וקולות וברקים של מתנת תורה. And I am sure you know it doesn't feel as good as, I don't know, you're going to come and you're going to learn Kabbalah and you're going to see angels. Yeah? Some people can see angels when they learn Torah. Yeah? He says, well, I'm going to go to this guy, he doesn't even know what I'm talking about. ועל אחת וכמה וכמה בדינות דידן, how much more in our case, שמדובר אודות עניין של מצווה, when we're talking about a matter of a commandment, ועל אחת כמה וכמה מצווה של הדלקת נר חנוכה, next week, Sunday, חנוכה start, Sunday או מוצאי שבס? Sunday night or? I think so Sunday night, yeah? שפלט אור, הרי בוודאי שצריך להשתדל בזה. We need to be very emphatic. If you know a Jew that doesn't have a menorah, make sure he has a menorah. If you know a Jew who doesn't know that there's going to be a Hanukkah party, make sure that he knows about the Hanukkah party that we're going to have. I'm not sure what day, but we will let you know. וכפי שהיה אצל יוסף, just like it was by יוסף, תשפיע גם פעולה זו בכל העולם. And you think it's just a small little thing. What did they do? I gave him a menorah. I told him to light. That in itself, just like with Yosef, that small act changed the entire world. Also, this small act that the guy got a menorah can change the entire world. אבל לא באופן שיש צורך לשלול רעב כפשוטו. But we're not going to go into a manner that we have to God forbid, push away hunger. כי אם בנוגע לרעב וחורחניות. We're talking about a hunger which is spiritual. There's millions of people, hundreds of Jews, thousands of Jews in Tucson that are hungry for spirituality. And it's our job to make sure that they are got the sustenance. הנה ימים באים והשלחתי רעב בארץ ולא רעב ללחם, just like it says in Amos, that there's going to be days that are going to come and God is going to put hunger in the land. Hunger for what? Hunger for spirituality. Not hunger for bread. Just like we can see in this day and age, the world is hungry for something. Not for bread. Bread there's plenty everywhere. They're hungry for something spiritual. They're all confused. Their brains don't, they see there's something is missing. ולא צמא למים כי אם לשמוע את דבר השם. They're not thirsty for water, but they're thirsty for the word of God. עד שנזכה ללמוד תורתו של משיח, מפיו של משיח בקרוב ממש. Until we're going to merit to learn the Torah of Mashiach from the mouth of Mashiach himself.